Welcome into Pittsburgh Steelers Talk. I am Tom Downey. If you guys want free daily videos on the Steelers, you've come to the right spot. Our goal is 15,000 subscribers. We are not that far away. Yeah, we're currently at 14,355, so help us out. Let's get to that 15K mark. Hit that big red button for me right now. You're watching Steelers Talk. As I mentioned, I am Tom Downey here once again. We're going to talk some Steelers rumors on George Pickens, Antonio Brown, and some other noteworthy potential items moving around the Steelers. Before we do that, we're taking a flashback to the Super Bowl, or I should say Super Bowls. Which of these two plays was the better one? Was it the Antoine Randall trick play TD pass to Hines Ward, or the James Harrison 100-yard interception return for a touchdown? What do you think was the bigger play? I actually have a very firm answer. Jeremy's like, it's a tricky one. I don't think so. I think it's clearly the James Harrison pick six, because that one, it was a 14-point swing, 2-touchdown swing. The trick play was awesome for a TD pass. I think it's James Harrison's, though, because I don't think Pittsburgh wins that game without the Harrison INT. I think I know the Antoine Randall TD pass sealed it, but I think they still win that game. So I'm typing in my two, but I want to hear from you guys. Which was the better Super Bowl play, 1 or 2? Let's get to George Pickens, a second-round pick who could be number 1. See, we tied it in kind of, sort of there. The Steelers picked Pickens in round 2 of the NFL draft. I thought that was a steal selection for where they ended up being able to get him. There's been some even major hype around him after he impressed at OTAs and minicamp. Greg Cosell, the NFL legend, says that he thinks Pickens is the best receiver in this entire draft class. He will be viewed as the number 1 guy when it's all said and done coming out of the 2022 NFL draft. Here's what Cosell had to say. Quote, George Pickens, to me, based purely on tape, was overall the best receiving prospect in this draft class. Big, physical, can run, played in the SEC, and came into the SEC as a true freshman and was a dominant receiver, which is pretty accurate, especially when we consider the offense and quarterback play wasn't spectacular. Pickens had only 49 grabs, pulled in 727 yards, 8 touchdowns. I will make note that there was some concern about Pickens, his production dipped, etc., but there's no doubt in my mind that Pickens has immense upside. He can be that big body, the typical X wide receiver, if you will. He was a bit of a wild card. I had a second-round grade on George Pickens. He was my number 8 overall receiver, and there were several receivers who went before him that I had graded lower than George Pickens. He's got that big body. He uses it well. He actually did a pretty good job of getting separation, specifically late, through shoulders, hand usage, the slight push-off. Receivers should always commit offensive pass interference because it's never called. He's got great ball skills, pretty good hands as well, despite them not being that great. He tested very well, factoring in his size at the combine, and he is a tone setter. Dog attitude works, spelled that way because Georgia Bulldogs. He is incredibly chirpy at the receiver spot, which can be a negative as well. We'll get to that in a little bit, because there are some reasons why he did not go in round 1, why he slid down to round 2. There were some attitude, character type of things. There were moments where he talked too much trash. He was ejected from a game as a freshman. He was throwing punches with another Georgia Tech defender. Suspended for half the following game in 2019 as part of that. Unsportsmanlike conduct against Tennessee because he was spraying water against the Tennessee player on the sideline for really no reason. In general, I would rather have to rein somebody in than ramp them up when it comes to that attitude, mentality type of things. But he does need to be reined in. He's also never going to be an elite route runner, but I think he gets enough separation. So let's play true or false. George Pickens will be the best wide receiver from this draft class. Type in T for true, or you can type in F for false. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. More draft conversation. Finally, Kenny Pickett has officially signed his deal. Pickett was the last first-round pick to sign his rookie contract. We know what the contract is going to look like. It's all structured. $14.1 million, a $7.4 million signing bonus. There is some flexibility with the signing bonus, but not a lot. It comes down to how it's structured. Probably going to be fully guaranteed for a top 20 pick, plus the standard fifth-year option. There isn't that much to really go back and forth on when it comes to a contract. How much of the deal is guaranteed? There's offset language, typically what ends up being the potential last barrier. For those of you that don't know, offset language means if a player gets cut and they sign for a certain amount of money, if the deal was fully guaranteed, well, whatever they signed for, the original team does not have to pay. It's coming into play right now with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, for example. This does mean the entire rookie class is now signed. It was a matter of when, not if. The rookie holdouts are a thing of the past, more or less, when it comes to the NFL. So if you are excited to see these rookies in minicamp, in training camp, we already had minicamp, in training camp, in the preseason, and in the games that actually matter, show it by liking this video right now. We've got some more Antonio Brown conversation here. Brown has publicly said he wants to retire a Steeler, although it should not come as a surprise to anyone that he's not going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Part of his recent podcast interview, Mike Tomlin said, y'all know that ain't happening, and nor should it, because it's a not good idea to consider that. Part of the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark as well. You don't want Antonio Brown on this team. He's a head case. I know he was once a great Steeler. Retiring as a Steeler is a very different conversation, but playing as on a team that honestly in pretty good shape at the position doesn't make any sense to me at all. So what do you think? Do you want Antonio Brown to retire as a Steeler? Not return, just retire. Sound off for me in the comments section. Y for yes, or type in N for no. Today is the 2022 NBA Draft, and we will be live for it on Chat Sports. Chase Sr., Harrison Graham, me, Will, Marshall, etc. A lot of us going to be covering the NBA Draft. We'll have some fun along the way. And unlike the failing ESPN, we'll actually talk about every single prospect that gets picked instead of doing meaningless interviews. And we'll actually break down the picks as soon as we know them. They get leaked early every time, and we will not be waiting to announce those picks. We'll jump right into them. So if you want the best NBA Draft coverage on YouTube this year, subscribe to the Chat Sports YouTube channel, where we have our NFL coverage as well. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Quick update now on the Brian Flores lawsuit, since he is now a coach for the Steelers. Flores, as I'm sure almost all of you know, is suing the NFL for racial discrimination and hiring practices. The NFL has filed a motion in an attempt to move this out of the courts and into our arbitration, with the argument being that coaches' contracts include an agreement to arbitrate any claims versus teams. This is basically, well, the contract should supersede any potential lawsuit. I am unconvinced the NFL will actually win this motion, given that just because you sign a contract or an NDA or a non-compete, that doesn't mean it's actually always able to be enforced here. I am curious if Flores can actually win, because he got great results in Miami. There's no doubt about that. And there's also zero doubt, because other coaches and teams have admitted it, that the Rooney Rule, which of course not a problem at all for the Steelers, is oftentimes just viewed as a check-the-box thing, and they interview someone that they have no interest in actually hiring, which, to be honest, I kind of think we saw happen in Houston with the interview of Hines Ward, because Ward is not qualified to be an NFL head coach at this point. But it's plenty of other examples. There are others as part of this lawsuit, like Ray Horton, who have been subjected to that in the past. So of the two sides, whose side are you on? NFL or Brian Flores? You can type in the NFL, or you can type in BF for which side of the argument you're on. I think I'm going to support Steelers coach myself and type in BF. Some breaking news here as we were filming this video. Actually, we have at least part of the contract details for Larry Ogunjobi, a one-year deal worth up to $8 million. There are undisclosed incentives as part of that. I would wager at least some of those incentives are unlikely to be earned, meaning his cap hit this year is not going to be $8 million. So we'll have to wait and see what those figures exactly turn out. But was noteworthy news, so we wanted to make sure we tacked it onto this video because it broke truly right as we finished filming the whole thing. So if you made it to the actual end of today's video, type "here we go" for me in the comments section.